Beautiful souls, have you checked out my Black Folks Sweet Potato Pie cookbook? It's a collector's edition honoring a legacy of West African influences into my family's viral sweet potato pie recipes. Black Folks Sweet Potato Pie recipe, old fashioned sweet potato pie, purple sweet potato pie, and southern sweet potato pie with cream cheese. Which one is your favorite? My favorite is my classic Black Folks Sweet Potato Pie, the first sweet potato pie recipe to introduce warm, spicy notes of clove and ginger as part of its signature soul food spices, along with silky evaporated milk. But what if you don't have evaporated milk on hand? Can you use sweetened condensed milk instead of evaporated milk in a pie? In the words of my favorite president, Barack Obama, yes, we can. So, in this sweet potato pie recipe I'm sharing today, sweetened condensed milk substitutes for evaporated milk. It's my signature Black Folks sweet potato pie recipe with condensed milk, the perfect recipe substitute solution if you don't have the preferred evaporated milk on hand. Welcome to the Soul Food Pod, the first podcast dedicated to the history and culture around Southern soul food. I'm your host, Shonda Nicole, your go-to recipe creator for modern soul food cuisine, making life easier and more soulful, one recipe at a time. This season, I'm bringing you into my kitchen to listen to the recipe as I prepare iconic African-American dishes, unveiling the secret ingredients and step-by-step instructions. You'll learn soul food culture, history, proper seasoning techniques, how to speed up traditional Southern soul food recipes, and how I efficiently use modern kitchen appliances to make your favorite traditional dishes. I'll teach you how iconic African American recipes are now easy enough for anyone to make and everyone to love. Thanks for joining me today in the kitchen for another episode of the Soul Food Pod. Remember, you can find the link to today's recipe in this episode's description or on thesoulfoodpot.com. We're talking in detail today about a Black Folks sweet potato pie recipe with condensed milk. There are a few steps to unpack to make this favorite nostalgic African American treat. So let's not wait another minute. We have an incredible, flavorful listen to the recipe episode baked up for you today. Let's dig in. What makes Black Folks sweet potato pie a favorite pie recipe? The spices. Yes, it's gotta be the spices. Sweet potato pie is also easy to make ahead, easy to serve, and has simple pantry ingredients that yield a sweet and mildly spicy flavor. There are many other great recipes for pies out there, but my Black Folks sweet potato pie recipe stands out from the rest. So no need to miss out on making this recipe if you don't have evaporated milk, but do have condensed milk instead. Why is sweet potato pie a Black thing? Sweet potato pie was made by Black folks back in Africa when they used the native grown vegetable yams. It's a legacy of the best holiday traditions handed down from generation to generation as part of sweet potato pie Black history. Yes, that's the thing. Check out thesoulfoodpot.com for more. Now, what is a Black folks sweet potato pie? So a Black folks sweet potato pie recipe is a delightful Thanksgiving or Christmas dessert packed with flavorful seasonings and spices in the tradition of Black folks' soul food cooking. Another delicious variation of the original recipe, except with the addition of sweetened condensed milk this time. Honestly, I prefer the original Black folks sweet potato pie recipe that uses silky smooth evaporated milk. But this recipe promises the same soulful seasoning, spices, and flavors custom to Black people's sweet potato pie, with additional sweetness as ushered in with the sweetened condensed milk. Now, what are the ingredients in Southern sweet potato pie? This recipe is traditionally made with sweet potato pie ingredients, softened or mashed sweet potatoes, eggs, sugar, butter, and the best blend of vanilla, evaporated milk, cinnamon, and other sweet spices. Those are what's traditionally in the recipe, but this time we are substituting with condensed milk. All right, so the kitchen equipment that you'll need, beautiful souls, for this recipe, I, of course, am going to use the Instant Pot electric pressure cooker and encourage for you to also use it if you have one on hand. I use my favorite kitchen appliance, the Instant Pot Omni Plus oven. Regular oven works well. Instant Pot Ace Plus blender or an electric mixer. So I do have the Instant Ace blender. I'm not sure they're still making those. It was a great appliance, so I'm not sure why they stopped. Or I also use my KitchenAid stand mixer, or you can use a handheld electric mixer. And you want a 9-inch deep dish pie plate. Now, the ingredients for this Black Folks sweet potato pie recipe with condensed milk are going to be sweet potatoes, because they yield a naturally sweet pie filling with a smooth, creamy texture. Condensed milk, because it adds sweetness and smoothness to the pie. Light brown sugar adds a touch of sweetness with a caramel-like flavor. Eggs, they are the binding agent that ensures the pie filling holds its shape. Butter, because it adds a rich flavor that complements the natural sweet potatoes. Vanilla extract for a warm and comforting balance in the flavor profile. My signature addition, ginger, which adds a hint of spiciness and a subtle warm kick. Nutmeg, it adds a warm, nutty, and earthy balance to the pie's sweetness. Cinnamon adds a comforting warmth and heat with earthy flavor. Clove, another soul food pot signature here, contributes to the pie's overall soulful spiciness. Salt, a necessary contrast to balance the sweet spice profiles. And of course, we're going to need a pie crust, and this elevates this dish from a sweet potato souffle to a sweet potato pie with simple deliciousness and a flaky pie crust encasing. All right, here's what we're going to do, and here are the instructions for sweet potato pie, this recipe with condensed milk. All right, so you're going to grease the pie pan, a 9-inch pie pan, and set it aside. And for a homemade pie crust, you can check out my recipe on the soulfoodpot.com for homemade almond flour pie crust, or you can use a store-bought pie crust, works just as well, pie dough or pie shell, and pie shells are pretty cool because they come with their own pie pan. All right, so my recipe pro tip here is to use the Instant Pot electric pressure cooker to soften and peel the sweet potatoes quickly and almost effortlessly. Okay, so to do that, you can pressure cook or boil the sweet potatoes, but for this recipe, we're going to use the pressure cook way. So you want to open the Instant Pot lid and fill the stainless steel inner pot with the water to the half mark inside that stainless steel inner pot. Add the scrubbed sweet potatoes. I always scrub mine first, habit. And so add them to the pot of water. Close the Instant Pot lid. Make sure the valve is up in the Instant Pot for sealing, and that's if you have the older model. And pressure cook on high for 12 minutes to loosen the potato skin. When the cooking time is finished, allow a natural pressure release for at least 12 minutes. To open the Instant Pot lid, move the valve to venting and manually release any remaining pressure if applicable, which it will be extra pressure there. Drain the cooked sweet potatoes, pour the water and the sweet potatoes into a colander in the sink, and drain the hot water from them. Peel the sweet potatoes, so once the potatoes are cool to the touch, peel and discard the skin. Then you're going to gather the sweet potato flesh, gather 3 cups of that flesh, and then mix the ingredients. Here you're going to add to either the blender, electric mixer, or stand mixer. So you're going to mix the sweet potato flesh, evaporated milk, or in this case, we're using condensed milk, brown sugar, egg, melted butter, vanilla extract, ginger, nutmeg, cinnamon, ground cloves, and salt. Pulse or mix the ingredients and combine until smooth. Then you're going to fill that pie crust by pouring the sweet potato mixture into the pie crust. Then bake the pie. You're going to bake the sweet potato pie at 350 degrees Fahrenheit in a conventional oven for about 28 to 30 minutes. And if you're using the Instant Pot Omni Plus oven like I do, it's going to take a little less time for about 24 to 26 minutes, or until the pie is puffed and firm in the center. And remember that cooking times and appliances, or cooking appliances times and oven temperatures will vary. All right, so now we're going to let the pie cool. So you want to allow the sweet potato pie to cool for at least 2 to 4 hours before garnishing or slicing. And then optional toppings here, garnish with whipped cream and a sprinkle of cinnamon on top. Now, how do you serve it? Serve this Black Folks sweet potato pie recipe warm and enjoy. All right, people often ask, do you eat sweet potato pie hot or cold? Wonderful question, and truly it's a preference, but sweet potato pie is best served warm or at room temperature. Most pies are left unrefrigerated while family and friends feast on the dessert. Then it's chilled in the refrigerator to store the leftovers and warmed up again before serving the next time. Now, what do you serve with Black Folk sweet potato pie? If you're looking for classic soul food recipes to serve with your sweet potato pie for your Thanksgiving menu or Christmas dinner, then look no further than these delicious ideas that can also be found, of course, on the soulfoodpot.com. So, some favorites would include Black Folks Southern Turkey recipe, Southern Fried Chicken, Soul Food Collard Greens, Black Folks Cornbread Dressing, Black Folks Homemade Cornbread, and of course, if it's New Year's, Black Folks Soul Food Black Eyed Peas. All right, now, Black Folks Sweet Potato Pie recipe with condensed milk. Here are your frequently asked questions, beautiful souls. Which is better, evaporated milk or condensed milk? And the answer is simply a matter of preference. In this case, it often comes down to a matter of substitution, but if you prefer condensed milk, it is sweeter than evaporated milk, and evaporated milk is silkier than the thicker condensed milk. Although one can be substitute for the other, condensed milk, it'll make the pie taste just a bit sweeter. Now, you also ask, can you boil the sweet potatoes for sweet potato pie? Yes, an easy way to quickly peel and soften the sweet potatoes is to pressure cook them or boil them, while of course pressure cooking them will be much faster. Now, how do you prepare the sweet potatoes to be mashed? The easiest method is to use an Instant Pot pressure cooker. Did you think I was going to say anything different? To soften and peel the sweet potatoes quickly and almost effortlessly to prepare them for mashing. Now, if you do not prepare the pie crust from scratch, can you use a frozen one? Absolutely, yes, you can. Use a frozen pie crust or store-bought pie dough. Now, how do you keep your pie crust edges from burning? Which is a great question that you asked. Unlike some pie recipes, there is no need to preheat your empty pie crust for this Black Folks sweet potato pie recipe. Doing this can cause your pie crust edges to burn. So you can use a handy kitchen gadget called a pie shield if you're concerned with your edges burning. And you can check that out in this recipe on the soulfoodpot.com if you're not familiar with a pie shield. How long should a sweet potato pie sit before slicing? Allow the sweet potato pie to cool for at least 2 to 4 hours before garnishing or slicing. How do you cut sweet potato pie? One primary consideration when cutting your sweet potato pie is to let it set before cutting. Otherwise, when you slice it, it will fall apart like feta cheese, and you don't want that. It's best to let the pie cool and set for a few hours up to a whole day. But if you don't want to wait or can't wait the entire day, wait at least 4 hours before cutting into your pie. Now, here are my pro tips for slicing sweet potato pie. This process can be even simpler if you run your sharp knife on a chilled sweet potato pie. So a perfect uniform slice will be in your hands if you refrigerate your pie before cutting it. So be sure the knife is clean and sharp before cutting. Wipe it off with a damp cloth after each slice and cut cleanly through the bottom of your pie. Now, you asked, do you refrigerate Black Folks sweet potato pie? Yes. After all, this recipe calls for eggs. And how long will a sweet potato pie last in the refrigerator? The baked and cool pie can be stored in the refrigerator for up to 5 days. Can you reheat your sweet potato pie? Yes, this sweet potato pie recipe can be quickly rewarmed in the oven or the microwave slice by slice, and you can eat after reheating again. And can you freeze a sweet potato pie? You can absolutely freeze whole sweet potato pies or leftover pie for up to 3 months. First, wrap tightly in plastic wrap and then foil, seal tight in an airtight container is the best way to do it. And can you make this pie ahead? People also ask. If you're making a Thanksgiving sweet potato pie or a Christmas sweet potato pie, it's a good idea to make your sweet potato pie masterpiece ahead of time, assuming, of course, that you have the refrigerator space. Just remember, wrap tightly and keep it in the fridge. After all, this pie calls for eggs. And then, true to the whole reason for a sweet potato pie made with condensed milk, are there any acceptable ingredient substitutes for a Black Folk sweet potato pie recipe? So you can use the following swaps for this soul food baked sweet potato pie recipe. While I found evaporated milk to be the smoothest and perfect flavor additive for sweet potato pie, sweetened condensed milk can be a substitute, as I've detailed in this recipe. Likewise, you could also use heavy cream. Also, light brown sugar can be substituted for with dark brown sugar, and it's best for this recipe, light brown sugar, but granulated sugar can also work if you are in a pinch. The taste will be slightly different, but you can get away with the white granulated if you were in a pinch and didn't have the preferred light brown sugar or dark brown sugar substitute. Now, beautiful souls, have you had Southern soul food sweet potato pie? Well, whether or not, there's always room for a first time. And you can also be sure to check out other holiday sweet potato pie recipe favorites on thesoulfoodpot.com. All right, beautiful souls, till next time, remember that food for the body is not enough. There must be food for the soul. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Soul Food Pod. Did you enjoy today's conversation and recipe? If you want more easy to make soul food recipes and Southern food for the soul, then follow me for ideas that make your life easier plus more soulful. Subscribe here to the Soul Food Pod and subscribe to my food blog, thesoulfoodpot.com. On the Instagrams, follow me at Shonda Nicole. Have you had today's recipe? Would you make it? Comment below and let me know. And make sure you rate this podcast 5 stars and subscribe for all the soul food.